This week on the 5-Star Podcast of Wrestling, we talk about the big news involving NXT coming to cable, as well as breaking down the King of the Ring tournament that took place on Raw and SmackDown. That's all upcoming here on the 5-Star Podcast of Wrestling. Welcome back to another edition. I am host Sean Meyers, joined by Night Owl Justin Lowery. Staying up a bit later than normal to talk about the past week. Justin, I think that we have to jump right into the big news that came out, and I think we could see that NXT was coming to cable. But, hey, there we go. Turn the lights on. So NXT coming to cable. We knew that was going to happen. That being said, we did not know that it was going to end up with USA and that it was going to be 2 hours live each and every week from Full Sail. So we talked a little bit about this last week, but I think it's worth delving a little deeper. Direct competition against All Elite Wrestling, occupying the exact same 2-hour time slot. I think keeping it at Full Sail is a good decision, but the question for me still remains, does Vince McMahon have control, and do they kind of change the format? And what does this also mean for the WWE Network, as well as the TakeOver, basically quarterly events that they hold now?
I guess for the most part, I read NXT will be available on the network on Thursday. So just a day later than it normally has been airing. So you just have to wait an extra day. And I would assume the TakeOvers will run the network per usual, as they always have.
With the extra hour, though, does that lend itself to maybe using more of those takeovers since we're getting 2 hours every week as opposed to one?
I guess you could, but that's probably not going to change. I mean,
I hope it doesn't.
It probably won't. Look, I don't like the move. I get why they did it, but they only did it because of AEW. It's not something that they, I think, maybe down the line were planning on doing, but definitely not this soon. I mean, it's clear as day why they did it.
I think had they switched to live and on cable, but still kept it an hour a week, you could say, all right, well, that was a natural progression. But extending it another hour, I know a lot of people like that. I just think it's really good as it is. And yes, you can get more guys on TV, but again, we go back to what we talked about. People who are just coming up that are a little green, they probably won't get on TV as much because the powers to be don't want, people that are killing the ratings by not being ready for cable.
Here's the thing. If they're on TV, you think Vince is going to be, even if it's just a little bit more involved, which is not a good thing. And, it's funny. Less people today are watching wrestling than ever. I mean, there's nowhere near amount as people watching wrestling there was 20 years ago. Now you're going to have 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of NXT, definitely 2 hours of SmackDown. But then now there's being talk that they might add a third hour to SmackDown. That's a lot of wrestling. Plus, if you want to add the 2 hours of AEW, that on the hour a week that you can watch Ring of Honor, that's a lot of wrestling. And there's not a big, wide audience right now for it. I can't wait to see the ratings for both AEW and NXT.
I think WWE tried to get ahead of the curve a little bit there because we thought it was going to start the same week as All Elite, but they're jumping in, 2 weeks before?
2 weeks early. Yeah.
That seems like a smart decision, but it also seems like a bit of a rushed decision.
Well, it's clearly rushed. The purpose is to beat them. I mean, I don't think the purpose is to put the best. If the purpose was to put the best NXT product out, it wouldn't be this quick. This seems rushed. This is the purpose of just competing because the same audience that watches NXT will watch AEW. To me, that's the same audience. People that watch Raw and SmackDown are not necessarily people that would watch AEW. Correct. Some are, but some aren't.
Right.
And just because you watch Raw doesn't mean these people are going to watch NXT either. Somebody who's just a casual viewer that doesn't have a network who watches Raw might tune into NXT and be like, I don't know who any of these guys are, or whatever, click, and he's off.
And I think you're going to get main roster superstars, especially at the beginning, who go down there. So, I mean, would you be shocked to see Seth Rollins making an appearance? Now, not regularly, but, maybe once every couple of months, they have a big-time name like a Seth Rollins that goes down there like an AJ Styles?
They're going to have some probably pretty special planned on October 2nd, right? There's going to be some type of championship match. Somebody's going to be on there. They're going to have somebody to try to take away from AEW's first show.
The decision to go to USA, that kind of surprised me, and I think it surprised a lot of people. It seems, I don't know if it's good or bad. It's just interesting because USA is losing SmackDown, so they sort of replace that. But it seems like there's been a lot of, issues between WWE and USA recently. A lot of things changing where USA is getting more involved seemingly than they have before, not being happy about the dwindling ratings. Why did they jump in to get this?
That's a good question. I mean, if they're not happy with the ratings, NXT is going to probably bring in less than both Raw and SmackDown. So I don't understand why, really. I get that for WWE, it's better to be on USA than FS1. USA's in more homes. People are familiar with USA when it comes to the WWE product.
Right.
I get that.
You're still going to get your 5 hours a week on USA. It's just going to be Raw and NXT as opposed to Raw and SmackDown. Apparently,
the people at Fox really aren't that happy that they chose to go with, USA. So they're already ticking off, the wrong people
well, I would
there.
guess that's probably, it came down to money, right? I mean, Vince and company are always going to go with the best offer, I would think.
Oh, we know that. I mean,
unless the money was equal and they thought USA had better exposure, but whoever was offering more money, I think, was going to get it.
Yeah, because I think it's going to be a fair little competition because USA, TNT, they're probably about neck and neck. I honestly thought AEW would win in the ratings if they were on FS1 because I don't think it's in less homes, and I don't know how many people actually watch FS1. It's not.
I can't tell you what the number is off the top of my head for my cable.
I think I know, but see, that tells you. The only time I might watch FS1 is during college football season, and there's a college football game on that channel that I actually want to watch, but I don't tune in daily or weekly to see their sports talk shows or anything like that.
2 quick questions before we move on. Number 1, does this lead to people no longer graduating from NXT, or is it still going to be that same development? Maybe it takes a little bit longer, but you're always replenishing with the people who are recently signed in NXT.
Well, I wonder, are they now going to call it developmental? Because isn't this almost like,
honestly, about 2 years ago that was
right.
No longer.
Right, because isn't this almost like now a better version of WWE's version of ECW that we had, 7, 8 years ago on Sci-Fi? Like a third brand that you're going to try to groom guys on so you can move them to SmackDown or Raw? Or are we now going to see guys that maybe kind of fell flat on Raw and SmackDown jump down to NXT and become bigger names?
Well, they've done Tyler Breeze and Fandango now, Killian Dane, and I think it made sense with those people because they weren't going to be doing anything. But my question is, do the Undisputed Era, does Velveteen Dream, does Shayna Baszler stay in NXT long term at this point? Because it seemed like they were ready to come up.
I think longer now, right? Because they're going to try to keep some star power down there. Absolutely.
And the second question is, what does this do to the WWE Network? And what does it do to 205 Live, which seems like it's in real peril at this point?
205 Live might not be a show for too much longer.
I agree, but here's why that doesn't make sense. They're now taping, or they're doing live shows every week in Full Sail. So you're not getting like 4 episodes filmed at once. 205 Live, record it at 7 o'clock before NXT goes live, run it on Thursday. You get the fan base that would appreciate that show.
Sure.
And you take it out of a wide, spacious arena where people don't care. You throw it in Full Sail. And now you're replacing one of your top-rated shows on the network. And hopefully, if it becomes a better show, 205 Live, that still gives reason for people to tune into the network for some wrestling content.
Oh, no, I agree. Why wouldn't you? I I just don't think Vince really cares for the show. I don't think he ever has.
I look
So
at it, they're adding an hour to NXT, they're going to cut an hour out of something else, and it looks like it's going to be 205 Live by October.
right. And when it comes to network, I don't think there's much change. I wonder how many people are going to watch it on USA. If you're used to watching on the network,
If
and
it truly is the next day,
yeah,
I would probably watch it on the network just because it saves room on DVR. But
right.
realistically, I still have questions about that. I think USA is probably going to say, don't put it up for weeks, right?
Well, right. If it's the next day, like to your point, if you can't watch it live anyway, why DVR it? I'll just watch it on the network because, like you said, I
No
don't have to.
commercials there.
Yeah, no commercials. I don't have to fast forward. I'll just throw it on. Yeah,
It's an interesting thing, and we're going to have answers in less than a month. Hard to believe. I think it's September 18th, so less than a month from now.
the thing is, the questions that we have, I don't think they have answers to yet.
I really, honestly do believe that the plan is Triple H is going to handle this, but Vince is going to say, well, that's good, Hunter, but let's do this too.
Right.
It starts with just one thing or whatever, and
Or he lets Triple H kind of do his thing at first, and if the ratings aren't where they want them to be or they're losing, Vince is stepping in. You know it, I know it, and I think everybody knows it.
and you probably get Kevin Dunn now heavily involved too. I don't know that he was or wasn't with NXT's regular tapings, but I would imagine now that it's live on USA, he's definitely going to be involved.
I would assume so. Yeah.
So let's talk about this past week, Raw and SmackDown. To me, the King of the Ring, I had some real excitement about this tournament, and I still think it could be pretty good because when the bracket came out, and I made this point to you, Justin, via text message, it is a wrestling-heavy bracket. It's not a lot of sports entertainers. It's a lot of very talented wrestlers, and you still have some guys mixed in. But when I saw the brackets, I said, wow, of these first-round matches, out of the 8, I could see 5 or 6 being like tremendous if they give them like 15, 20 minutes, kind of make it like how the UK tournament or the Cruiserweight Classic was, where guys are really going out there and getting every opportunity. I didn't really see that in the first week, but I still thought it was, pretty good. Samoa Joe, Cesaro was good, Apollo and Andrade. The other 2 matches were kind of just like typical TV matches with Elias winning and Sami Zayn getting squashed. We know it's going to lead to the finals at the next pay-per-view Clash of Champions, but what's your take on King of the Ring so far?
It kind of is what I thought it would be. The King of the Ring tournament honestly hasn't been important in quite some time. I mean, honestly, really since it's been a pay-per-view. There might have been a couple ones that were good, but you're going to have some good matches. You're going to have some whatever matches. I thought the Kevin Owens-Elias match, the outcome was kind of obvious. I kind of figured Kevin Owens would be screwed by Shane.
That's funny. I picked Owens to win it because, here's the thing. And someone said he's either going to lose his first match or go all the way. To me, he was the hottest guy in that tournament. Now, I know like the whole King gimmick is really for heels, but if it was just to your point, okay, you get a title shot off of it, I could see Owens because that's the guy more than anyone else in this tournament that's getting heavily pushed.
Yeah, here's the thing. I don't think whoever wins this is probably just going to get a King gimmick because there's no announce like. Well, right, and it's so bad because actually, like someone like Kevin Owens is probably better off not winning because whoever wins this, honestly, is going to maybe get like a little push for 2-3 months as a King gimmick, and it's going to wear thin and it's going to drop off.
But
and
like
it's
Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin didn't do that,
But this was a different time. You're going way back. Think of Wade Barrett. I mean, Booker T, I guess, ran with it, for a little bit. King Booker, but at a certain point, like, it doesn't work anymore. I can't even remember the last couple King of the Ring winners. I can't.
I was actually thinking the same thing. Sheamus win one?
I think he did, right?
So, but my whole idea was make it all about in-ring performances because that appeals to a certain fan base, a AEW fan base in all likelihood, and just let these wrestlers show twice every Raw and SmackDown. Hey, let's go have killer matches. All of a sudden, people care about this tournament because it's like, what match is going to steal the show next? That's what I wanted it to be. It still might be, and I think Buddy and Mustafa Ali have a chance to have an epic one. But so far, I thought it was kind of just typical TV matches, right?
Yeah.
The end of Raw. Did you see it, Justin?
the end of Raw. You know what? Luckily for myself, I once again fell asleep. But I was very frightened of the outcome that did happen.
And by
I
the way,
grimaced.
it was a good match and the fans loved it, but it's like you just made the tag team titles an accessory for what's going to be a Universal
Right.
title
And
storyline.
finally, the OC was getting traction. Gallows and Anderson, after really stumbling and being off TV for a while and being an afterthought, we're starting to get built back up again.
Because of
Get
that new
some
contract, probably, right?
Right. Get some momentum, and just like that, for no good reason other than you want to use the belts as props in this feud, you take the titles off of them. I cringed when I woke up the next morning, and I rolled over my bed and I looked at my phone and I looked at Twitter, and I'm like, oh, let me see what the results were, and I went, you got to be kidding me. And I'm like, I'm happy I fell asleep because I don't need to see it. I did not. I did appreciate the jokes though that Nicholas is all grown up and Braun got a grown up Nicholas and stuff like ha ha ha. But I think
this doesn't seem like a Paul Heyman thing, does it?
I would think not. That to me, no. That could be somebody. That to me, that's a Vince thing. That's a typical WWE Kevin Dunn Vince thing. Like
we know we're getting Braun and Rollins. I'm curious to see how they do that. Is it face versus face? Because I don't want another turn by Braun. That's like lame at this point. He already did it.
Right, and even if he does turn, doesn't mean he's going to be the heel in the eyes of the fans anyway.
It's a tough spot for Rollins because after that goodwill that he beating Lesnar, it's like it could very easily go away very quickly.
Yeah, they're gonna. It's already screwy. It's already weird booking. And like I said, I think it absolutely sucks for Gallows and Anderson, and that they just literally cut off their balls. They cut off their momentum.
Now, if
and
they win the title back in 2 weeks, and it starts, now Rollins.
Yeah, but then once again, I don't know.
It diminishes the titles, right?
Right. Back and forth. It's just a prop. Like, okay, we don't want the titles, so we'll like they're probably going to end up winning them back because Rollins and Braun can't get along. Braun hits Rollins. Rollins takes the pin. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, I know, and it's frustrating because you didn't need this to further the storyline between Seth and Braun.
Right.
Something else from Raw that I thought was incredible, even though it really didn't matter, was Ziggler and Roman Reigns. How about the week that Roman Reigns had between wrestling Buddy Murphy last week on SmackDown and now Ziggler? Anyone that complains that like Roman Reigns is Superman, Super Roman, whatever, that's kind of out the window now, isn't it?
Well, they say that. I don't know if they say that because like he squashes or dominates. Because Cena would always get beat up immensely and always find a way to win, kind of like Roman. And I'm not hating on Roman or anything because I mean, since he's been back, he really's been booked like at the top of the card, but not at the very top of the card. Right. If you saw when Buddy Murphy fought Daniel Bryan, I said Buddy Murphy's going to win this because Daniel Bryan's the kind of guy that looks at him and goes, guys, I want to put him over. He puts him over.
But Vince is probably okay with Daniel Bryan losing.
Probably.
Vince isn't okay with Roman losing unless it's
But just think
McMahon.
If Roman would have, if Murphy would have beat Roman, what that would have meant. If you want to make him somebody or really create a new star and try to push him and see what can come from it, someone like Roman has to be the guy that puts him over, not Daniel Bryan. And that's the difference right there. I think why people still could get angry.
But you don't think Roman has any... Roman's not like saying, oh, I'm not going to lose to Buddy Murphy. It's above him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know either way. I mean...
It seems like he was motivated to make these guys look really good over the last week.
Right, because it was a great match. I'm not putting that, I'm just saying that the outcome, it was your typical John Cena outcome back in the day. Oh, yeah, he'll make someone look decent, but at the end of the day, he's still coming out on top.
I think it's kind of like Buddy Murphy got bigger because of losing to Roman just because it was competitive. But eventually you do kind of have to win those. And Buddy won on SmackDown. This is like... Man, he was on SmackDown and wasn't seen for like 3 months. Now he wrestles Roman and Daniel Bryan back to back. One, I thought he was a heel. He was getting cheered. He was wrestling as the face this week. What do you anticipate for the future of Buddy Murphy, who's squarely in the middle of this like weird Roman Reigns, Rowan, Daniel Bryan, and an old guy with beard storyline?
I don't know. I don't know if they know. Because where does he go from here? And honestly, the ending of SmackDown was really weird. Like I saw that ending, cause it's over at 10. That's way better than 11 in my book. But I'm like, okay, who's under the mask? And they take it off, and it's like, what? And they're all just looking. I don't know. It was so hokey. I knew it was
going to be disappointing because it was like kind of just on regular TV. But I was hoping it would be like a wrestler, like Luke Harper. People said like, I know Vince doesn't want to use him, but that would be like a cool way to get him back, right? But instead they do this guy, and it's like, this is stupid.
Well, it's stupid because in the end, I think everybody and their mother knows it's going to be Daniel Bryan, and I mean, it's clear as day. Like, oh, it was Rowan, and we're just going to make it here. We found this look-alike.
Do you think that ending gets people to tune in next week?
No.
I think they see that and say, I'm done with this storyline.
Honestly, this storyline I think is horrible. I'm sick and tired of seeing the same video package for Roman.
I think it's horribly executed. I think the idea of a mystery whodunit involving Roman to get someone a major push makes sense. But if you're just going to end up having it be Daniel Bryan, he didn't need that to have a feud.
Hey, last time they did something like this, it was Rikishi.
And that was bad. But Rikishi got a massive push out of that, though. That's my point. If someone doesn't, why was this done?
Rikishi failed, so they made it Triple H, as the mastermind. But at this point, I'm laughing, and I just want Daniel Bryan to come out and say he did it for the people. He did it for The Rock.
You saw, I tweeted out one of our followers, Ian Schultz, big fan of the 5-Star Podcast of Wrestling. He said, I don't really see any way that I'm going to like the culmination of this. And I said, like, what if it was Undisputed Era? How cool would it be for something like that? But I just assume it's not going to be cool.
That would be cool.
Right.
That would be interesting and different, but they're not going to do that because why? No, they're going to pick Daniel Bryan, and it's probably going to be him and Bryan at maybe what's October, Hell in a Cell. Is that what that is now?
Yes.
Maybe Survivor Series, because I could see them really
Tuesday anymore, Justin.
Yeah, I could see them really dragging this out too. I don't.
Roman and Daniel Bryan would be cool, but why do they need to go to this length if that's going to be the result? And now I was interested in seeing who it was going to be. Now I think it's just going to be, like you said, screwy and very convoluted.
Yes, and that's what WWE is pretty much good for nowadays.
So SmackDown has a weird combination. Kind of came out of nowhere. Sami Zayn and Nakamura. I thought we were going to get like a new version of Sami Zayn after he lost to Cedric quickly on Raw because he tweeted out, I'm one of the best in the world. I deserve, not to steal Shane's line, but I'm one of the best in-ring competitors. I'm not a joke like I've been made to look. He kind of flipped out on the fans, which, was part of the storyline. But now he's with Nakamura, and he's like saying, okay, Nakamura's done talking. I'm talking for him. And then they beat up The Miz. Okay, maybe you push Nakamura, maybe you push Sami, and those are great in-ring guys, especially Sami. They could probably do more. But after seeing that pairing, I don't have a lot of confidence. And I was actually thinking, the way Sami talked about it, there was going to be more people. There was going to be maybe a third person, which you find someone else underutilized. That's a great in-ring guy. Now it seems more interesting. But instead, we're probably just going to get these two in like weird tag team matches that don't really matter, right?
Well, right. Well, to me, it was very weird because now Sammy's going to be a manager for Nakamura, and I don't know. I mean, yeah, Nakamura's not the best.
Which is right, because if you go back 5 years, you would say Sami Zayn, he's an in-ring guy first and foremost.
Right. The whole thing was weird. I didn't get it, and Mustafa Ali was kind of, I guess, looked like he was going to feud with Nakamura, and now that's been dropped because they paired Nakamura and Sami together, and it's like they still
going to lose to Buddy Murphy, who, again, I don't know if Buddy's going to be the heel or face in that match. You would think he'd be the heel against Ali, but it's just like, and maybe part of this is Bischoff coming in saying, you know what, I don't want to go that direction, and you have to give him time. But to me, I just don't know how this ends up really benefiting people, even though I do think that they've been giving some other guys opportunities. And Buddy's an example, Cedric's an example. And this whole King of the Ring tournament, it's guys who need to break out. We might see Chad Gable have an opportunity. Cesaro was in it even though he didn't win. But it's like, even though they're giving these guys TV time, I feel like it's, maybe I'm nitpicking, but I feel like it's not TV time that's fully showing their abilities.
Oh no, I agree. It is what it is. It's the same old, and I already see in the future too. Charlotte being the women's champion for the start of SmackDown on Fox. Her and Bayley are wrestling Night of Champions. I think Charlotte's going to be going into good old Fox premiere as the women's champion.
Do we still think it's going to be Kofi?
Whew, I'm guessing it's shaping up to be that way. It really is.
Maybe which is surprising because I was like, it's got to be Roman. It's got to be, and people thought maybe Lesnar, but
I thought Lesnar could. I honestly thought he would cash in on Kofi at some point, and that's what he was going to be used for. My guess is now Kofi loses it on that SmackDown, the first Friday Night Live SmackDown.
If it's to Roman, like, oh, man, I could see that happening, and then them thinking people are going to get behind Roman, but that would sort of make people turn against Roman, wouldn't it?
Right. Because I don't think the way this feud's going that Kofi can lose to Randy Orton. It just doesn't seem like that. That can be.
A lot of people have really enjoyed that feud, and especially the use of the Revival and the other members of the New Day. Have you liked it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really a Randy in ring guy, but Randy Orton is always best when he's the dickish Randy Orton. I mean, that's when he's at the top of his game, and this has been pretty entertaining for sure.
The legitimately out of nowhere RKO is awesome too. When they like say it's out of nowhere, but it's just like regularly in the course of a match. But like on Raw, I don't remember the exact spot, but like he came completely off of camera. I had no, like, that's like, whoa, okay.
Well, too, a lot of that is you got to have the camera guy kind of protect that. Like, you can't show him running into the ring because then we know it's coming.
And that was like, perfect. And then he actually did the, like, Shatter Machine into an RKO that was pretty cool, too.
Yeah.
Overall, I thought Raw and SmackDown were decent, but again, it's like, you almost, like, applaud when it's a decent show. Do you see really anything else that jumped out? Sasha had a pretty edgy comment. Did you hear that?
Yeah, that was a Paul Heyman comment.
I don't like that. I don't.
I don't mind it because people that have like passed on, like Jim Namble, Neidhart, he probably would be smiling over that because these guys grew up in the business. His name's still being
weird
brought
is it
up.
to say though? Like wrestlers want to be.
I think wrestlers do. I think they do. You tell me Ric Flair when he's gone.
I agree with you. I'm just saying it's kind of like a perverted, weird.
But it also keeps their memory alive within the current fan base too. You know, and I mean, I actually hate. I've found Natalya annoying for the last 7 years. So I actually enjoyed what Sasha did to her. Hey,
Michael Cole was really out of line saying that no one's talking about Sasha's hair. We're talking about her hair, right? I mean,
wasn't that the big conversation last week? Like, why did she take off the wig? What's that? Different hair color supposed to mean? Like, I asked this question on this show. Like, what's that supposed to represent?
My dad also was baffled by that. He's like, okay, so it's blue.
It's. She's Hill Sasha now.
Did you like Vic Joseph filling in? It was like it blew my mind that everyone's like, who's this new gentleman commentator on Raw? Like he's been on pay-per-views calling 205 live matches. He does NXT UK and he also does 205 live. It's sort of like people were a little out of the loop if they had no idea who he was until Monday.
Well, that tells you how many people don't watch 205 Live and NXT UK and so on and so forth. I mean,
and I guess most of the 205 Live matches on pay-per-view are on the pre-show, but there's been a few on the main show where he's doing the commentary. You would think you would know a commentator in the company.
Yeah. How many times when those matches were on the main cards, did people pay attention? Clearly, not often.
Listen. If you've seen Buddy Murphy the last couple weeks and Cedric Alexander against Drew McIntyre, that's proof enough why a show like that should be watched more.
Yeah.
All right, Justin. Anything else you want to touch on before we call it a day?
I think we're good.
All Elite Wrestling. Any big news there?
They're coming to Pittsburgh.
Yes, that is indeed. And you're on the fence at this point?
Yeah, well, tickets go on sale Friday at noon. That's a very hard time to get tickets if you work, pretty much the normal, hours. I mean,
what are you
that's
expecting for prices? Do you think that they're going to price themselves out for some?
no, I actually, Cody, actually, it was funny you mentioned that, about an hour ago, tweeted out the seating chart and pricing. The most expensive is $90 for like a floor right at the ringside, and the cheapest is $20. So that's kind of what WWE does, $20 for the cheapest ticket.
It's about a 6,000 person venue.
Right, it's a small arena, so actually a cheaper ticket, you're actually going to be closer to the ring than you would be if it was at PBG Paints. So to me, the pricing looked pretty damn fair. It was like 20, 30, like 40, 50, almost like in $10 to $15 increments that they raised. So I thought that was fair enough.
All right. Well, plenty to talk about in the upcoming weeks. We'll have NXT versus All Elite Wrestling in just about a month's time. We also have the King of the Ring tournament that continues. We'll talk about plenty of things as we continue. Want to let you know that you can check us out on Twitter, 5-Star Pod Wrestle, Instagram, 5-Star Podcast of Wrestling. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go back, check out the old videos. Like, comment, turn on notifications as well. For Justin Lowery, Sean Meyers signing off. You've been watching another edition of the 5-Star Podcast of Wrestling.